Shalom, Kol Haloyim, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachak Wadash, Shanyakabad, Gadawala Rekwab, Zakwanyim Nawa, Wa Shalayakim Nawa. That's the belongers to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, Wabarakim, Labakarnyim, Shal Yasharala. And that's peace and blessings to the elect of Israel. Since the UFOs, spaceships, whatever the world wants to call them, are a hot topic right now this week, I wanted to talk about them and add it along to my series that I have going on, which is What Your Christian Pastor Isn't Telling You. And this is an easy topic. It's nothing hard. It isn't a super deep breakdown unless you're getting into chapters like Ezekiel, the first chapter, and I believe the 10th chapter as well. But for the most part, this is very simple. And if the Spirit is working with you, it should be easy to identify these so-called UFOs in the scriptures. They're literally called the Chariots of Israel, whirlwinds, and other names. And so the first thing I wanted to do was bring out these two articles that I have, which basically show ancient art and, as they call it, ancient biblical art that show these so-called UFOs. And it's just helping to add to our faith that what's talked about in the scriptures, as a chariot of God, are what the world calls UFOs. And if anybody wants to say, oh, they're coming up against you, all you have to do is type into Google, or tell them to do it. Type into Google ancient art with UFOs, or ancient biblical art with UFOs, something like that. And you ask them, what are these? Ask them what these people were drawing in the 1400s, 1500s. Ask them why were they drawing these things and what do they represent? So anyway, let's get into it. And of course, the guy from, I believe the creator of Hebrews to Negroes, H2N as it's being called, he came out and said that basically we're crazy, we're wild for thinking that we're going to be delivered in spaceships. But that's what the scriptures say. That's our faith. If you don't believe it, then shit, you can stay. You can stay down here when we're getting delivered. We'll see who's right then. This first article says, proof of alien life are mysterious UFOs and bizarre alien figures hidden in ancient religious paintings, evidence of early ET visits. And of course, they're going off with the whole ET visits and alien life. It's just the chariots of God and the angels inside of them. But anyway, let's look at some of this ancient art. I don't want to make the video too long, but I do have a few that I want to look into that basically show, in my opinion, evidence. Because as they say, art depicts life. It just shows life. People are going to draw the things that they see around them, and through their art, they're describing their feelings and so on and so forth. They're kind of just depicting their life. And so what were they seeing, right? You have to ask yourself this. So you see this first drawing right here. And obviously, that's the chariot right there, right? So it says the baptism, of course, it says Christ, 1710. A disc-shaped object appears, shines beams of light on John the Baptist and, of course, Yahushai, right? The mysterious scene was painted by Flemish artist Aert de Gelder. Many claim that this is one of the most convincing examples of UFOs being highlighted in ancient art. That's 1710, right? We're going to skip past that one. Check out this one. This is one of the more popular ones that I've seen. And of course, you have it right there. Boom. What's that? Clouds are behind that thing, right? You got clouds, you got birds up here. That's not a cloud that he painted or drew. So it says, the Annunciation with Saint Emeritus, 1486. This is an altar piece painted by Italian artist Carlo Crivelli. celebrating the announcement by the angel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary that she will become mother of Yahushai. Right? Theories suggest the halo of the Holy Spirit depicted in the top left shining down a beam of light is actually a UFO. Of course it is. Of course it's a chariot. What else would it be? Beaming down light. You have the same depictions in modern day movies, right? But this one is from 1486. So what is that? So let's check this out. The Madonna painting, right? And what's that behind her? Boom. What's that behind her? And you have a man right here and his dog are looking up at it. Right? So it says, there we go. The Madonna with Saint Giovannini, 15th century. It was painted in the 15th century by Domenico Ghirlandaio and hangs in the Palazzo Vecchio in Florence, Italy. A man, possibly a shepherd, and what appears to his dog are seen looking up at the sky as a flashing disc-shaped UFO is depicted in the background. Easy. Let's keep going. Let's skip that one. I just don't like seeing these goddamn Edomites. This is a famous one too. Check this out. The crucifixion, right, of Yahushai. What's that on his right side? What's that? It's not an octopus. And what is that one? It's more light, but I hope you can see it. It's not a squid, not an octopus. What is it? It says Chechevel Cathedral frescoes 1600s. A 17th century fresco of the crucifixion which can be found in the Chechevel Cathedral in Macheta, Georgia. Two saucer-shaped craft appear on either side of Yahushai. That's easy. It's easy, easy. Lemon squeezy. Another one. The crucifixion of Yahushai. So if you thought them things were squids or jellyfish, then what is this one? It's another depiction of Yahushai's crucifixion on his right side right here. That's a so-called UFO. It's a chariot of Israel and the rider inside, the horseman, right? The angels. On his left side, boom. Another chariot, another so-called UFO. Right? We're not going to read it. That's what it is. That's it, right? Easy. This article was from The Sun. Let's check out just one more. So we have the same exact picture. The crucifixion of Yahushai. That's 1350. Right? This is another one. The Miracle of the Snow, 1428, 1432. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Yahushai and Mary, probably. And here we go. Oh, I wanted to grab this article because it shows a close-up. The Madonna, right? Picture, look. So now you can actually see a little bit of details. If I can go over. Man, it's not letting me. Here we go. You see that chariot a little bit more in detail, and it has like rays of light on all different sides. And then now you can actually kind of see the man with his hand on his head because he's looking up at the chariot. And then you can see that's his dog right here with his mouth open, if you have really good eyes. So there you go. All right, looking up at a chariot. And then you just have more. The Triumph of Summer Tapestry, 1538. You got chariots in the background right here. All right, that's what them things are. Another one over here in the corner. I think there's maybe one more. Check this out. This one says, nobody really knows who created this painting or when. But the caption below it reads, from the German, Israel, put your hope in the Lord. The painting depicts a huge UFO hovering above a burning church. Now check this out. This is not the huge UFO. This black thing right there, it's maybe like a smaller UFO. The huge UFO, as we zoom out, is that big white looking cloud thing that's around it. That's the huge UFO, right? Around the burning church. 1600s, probably around the time, since they said they don't know exactly when. And we've seen that picture too. So lots and lots of, I'm going to call it evidence in my opinion, because what else were they drawing? What else were they painting? And why were they painting those so-called UFOs, those spaceships at that time? Where were they getting it from? What were they seeing? What were they reading? That art didn't just come out of nowhere. They weren't just like, let me just all randomly at different times draw little circles in the cloud. No, you got to be real with yourself. And more importantly, we have all the evidence that we need from the scriptures. So let's make this easy. You get any Bible app, and you can just go to the online Bibles as well from your laptop, and you just type in the word cloud. What I want you to do is go to the New Testament and just start reading some scriptures. Now, what we have to remember is that you have parables in the Bible, but then also sometimes one word can be a parable. One word, I'll use the word analogy, it's better. One word can be an analogy referring to something else. And that's exactly what the word cloud represents. It represents something else. Obviously, a chariot. So we typed in the word cloud. We're in the New Testament through our filter. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to type in clouds with an S so that we can read Matthew 24, verse 30. This is an end time prophecy of how Yahushua would be returning and what he would be doing. It says, Matthew 24 and 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Right? So in the air, in the sky. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So just keep in mind these scriptures as we go along. So Matthew 24 verse 30 says, Yahushua is going to be coming in the clouds. Is he going to be coming floating on clouds? You have to ask yourself these questions. What does this represent? What does it mean? 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 17. When you read this chapter, it basically, or at least around verse 16, it begins talking about how those that have died in the faith, in the ministry, are going to be the first ones that are going to be returning with Yahushua. Then verse 17 says, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together. Keep in mind this wording. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we ever be with the Lord. Some words here we have to keep in mind for the future of this video. It says we shall be caught up together. Then it also says in the clouds, right? We have to keep those two things in mind. And so shall we ever be with the Lord, right? Keep those two things in mind. Then the very bottom, Revelation 1 verse 7. This is an end time prophecy once again, describing how Yahushua, the Messiah, would be returning. Behold, he cometh with clouds. Why would they be describing this? So it's not just important that it's going to be a cloudy day. No, these clouds represent something. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Aman. Now, all we're going to do is keep that word clouds in there. We're going to filter out through the Old Testament, and we're going to go to the book of Psalm, chapter 104. We'll start reading at verse 1. It says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, O Lord my God. Thou art very great, thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who covered thyself with light as with a garment, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain." Verse 3 is a point. "Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot." So majority of the time, when you come across the word clouds, majority of the time, especially if it's referring to an end time prophecy, then it's an analogy likening that word cloud to a chariot. "Who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind." This is how you tie things together in the scriptures. So all of those scriptures that we read, Matthew 24 verse 30, 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 17, Revelation 1 verse 7, the clouds right there were referring to an actual chariot. "Behold, he cometh with clouds. Behold, he cometh with chariots." That's what that's talking about. "And every eye shall see him." And they're all going to see those chariots as well. Now, I told you to keep in mind the wording in 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, because, god damn, this gnat keeps trying to get in my face. Because we're going to see another word for chariot, but also it uses the similar phrase in 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. So we're going to go to 2 Kings. Is it Kings? Yes, it is. 2 Kings chapter 2. Let's see. And we're going to start reading at verse 9. Now, Elisha is the understudy of Elijah, and Elijah was going to be taken away from Elisha. So we're going to pick up at verse 9. It says, "And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, Ask, what shall I do for thee, before I be taken away from thee?" He was going to be taken away. What was he talking about? "And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon thee. And he said, Thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee, but if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire." Right? Not the same chariot that's talked about in terms of the ancient Egyptians and how they chased us in their chariots. No, this is talking about a different chariot, a heavenly chariot, a flying vehicle of God. It's a different chariot. Since that guy wanted to say how, oh, then that means they chase us in something flying vehicles. No, this is different, okay? It says, "And behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven." He went up. That's the wording that I wanted you to keep in mind for this chapter, for this verse. Went up, right? Let me see if I can just jump over really quickly. 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 17. "Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds." We're going to be caught up the same way that Elijah went up in the chariot. All right, this should be clicking now. All this should be clicking in the spirit as we put this together. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 11. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So what's that whirlwind? What's that talking about? That's a chariot. It was called a chariot of fire. And then it said the horses of fire. That's the riders, the angels. And then it says he went up by a whirlwind. That's another code name for a chariot. So-called UFO. Similar to all those pictures that we seen in the beginning of this video. Now check this out. I just typed in whirlwind in the Bible, right? And then I went to images. Come on, man. Look at this. Now, this is just a drawing, a picture, or whatever. But it's giving us a depiction, kinda, I'll say, of what it could possibly look like being caught up. Imagine just seeing this. This is the crazy phenomenon. Imagine seeing this, and then an angel descends, a chariot, I should say, descends out from the midst of it. And then Elijah was just caught up. Or just imagine it being like this in the end days. That's crazy. That's wild to see. Right? I mean, look at all this. Come on, look at that. Now, the whirlwind is describing how it's how it looks like when it returns, right? But it just made me think to go into some of these pictures. Can't you see a UFO coming out of there? A chariot, so-called UFO, I should say, coming out of that thing. Just looks wild to me. But I can see it. Who maketh the clouds his chariots, right? Doesn't it all just fit together? Whirlwind, chariots of Israel being caught up, whirlwind. Come on. It just makes too much sense. Along with all these pictures. It just makes way too much sense. Right? Look at that. It's the whirlwind. That's a whirlwind right there. Whirlwind, cloud, chariot. It's all the same thing. If you can't see that, then obviously your spiritual eyes aren't open, and the Lord don't want you to see it. The angels are blocking out that connection, that logic. This is Isaiah, Old Testament, tripping. The 66th chapter and verse 15. This is an end time prophecy in the Old Testament describing how the Lord is coming back. And we have the same word here. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. He's coming with his chariots like a whirlwind. Coming in hot, destructive. Coming to bring destruction. Right? There you got it. The whirlwind and the storm. Biblical word studies. That's how the Lord is coming, man. It's going to look freakishly scary. And it even says that. It even says that right here in the book of, let me think. I'm going to get it. Let me think. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. Check this out, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. That's what we're doing right now, standing bold. When they see it, when they see what? Our salvation by way of the chariots. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. What's the strangeness of our salvation? Those whirlwinds, the chariots, the so-called UFOs. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. So far beyond all that they looked for. They're going to be, well, as a matter of fact, the scriptures say there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All this destruction going on, Jacob's trouble, all out anarchy, just people wilding out, going crazy. And then the missiles are going to be shot off and the elect get delivered in chariots, so-called UFOs. And certain people are going to be looking up. They're going to be wishing to be delivered. That's why there's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. They're going to be left here behind to be destroyed by those missiles. It's going to be a crazy time. It's going to be a crazy time. I'll leave off with one more scripture, and I should have really opened with this, or at least got it in the beginning. But either way, we'll bring it out now. This is the book of Acts, chapter 1. Acts 1 verse 3 says, to whom also he, talking about Yahushua, showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of heaven. So after Yahushua, his crucifixion, the Heavenly Father Yahweh rose him up. He appeared unto his disciples, with his glory and his glorious state. And he stayed with them 40 days, right? And basically, he left, right, after that. So he appeared, stayed 40 days with them, broke bread with them, and then he left. Now check this out. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up. What does that wording remind you of? 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 17. We shall be caught up in the air with them to meet Yahushua in the clouds. Elijah, 2 Kings, the 2nd chapter. He went up in a chariot, departed from Elisha. Now Acts 1 says, verse 9, and when he had spoken these things while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. So they saw Yahushua get taken up. He got beamed up, or once again, the world likes to say abducted. He was abducted in a cloud out of their sight. They saw the chariot. These sightings weren't mysterious back then. It wasn't a strange phenomenon back then. But you know what? When Esau came back into power during the Renaissance age, which means rebirth, then he got rid of a lot of these paintings that we just viewed. I'm sure there were way more. But he got rid and destroyed a lot of these paintings and a lot of different other images. And that's why today he made it seem as if, oh, these strange things that we're seeing, we're just going to call them UFOs. Unidentified, flying objects, And now they're calling it UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. We don't know what they are. It could be alien intelligence. No. The Holy Spirit is upon us. We know what they are. You can't tell us otherwise. Yahushua right here was caught up in a cloud. Now verse 10 says, in a chariot. Verse 10 says, and while they looked steadfastly toward heaven, as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel. These are angels. The clue that we have to know that they're angels is that they stood by in white apparel, right? They were holy, they were separate. Which also said, so the angels were talking to the men, and they said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So the same way that Yahushua ascended and went up into a chariot, he's going to now descend and come back in like manner in a chariot. This is easy. It's easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's not a hard breakdown. It's simple. If the Spirit is working with you, you see it. If it's not, oh well. Call Halayim Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Rachak Dash. I pray that this was edifying to the elect. I know it went longer than my usual videos, but it is what it is. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.